Joining me is Chris Gamache, the New Hampshire Director of Trails. Chris, we're talking about winter use, summer use, and I guess what's the balance between winter and summer? And has it always been the same, or is it changing?
The balance has predominantly been winter for many decades. That was the focus. That was the economic driver for a lot of the recreation in the state. And it's anywhere from $600 million to $1 billion a year of an economic impact to New Hampshire just from snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling has a $600 to $1 billion in economic impact?
Yes.
Holy mackerel, I didn't realize.
Yep.
That just one thing, snowmobiling.
Yes.
How does DRED figure that out?
Actually, it's Plymouth State University's Institute of New Hampshire Studies that did an economic study for the Snowmobile Association.
And so they look at what people buy in the stores and all right, so they do a lot of survey interview work.
They do, yes.
That's surprising, and that's just the winter.
That is just the winter.
And that used to be the driver, but now we're seeing summer use?
We're seeing a lot more emphasis on the summer use from the trails, whether it's the OHRV community, predominantly in the North Country where that expansion is occurring, but the mountain bikes, the hikers, and equestrian users, that are the major summer users, are all looking for more expansion and to emulate that model.
And any estimates on the economic activity in the summer?
Unfortunately, no. The economic impact studies are usually done by the user groups themselves so that they can argue their impacts and make improvements and other things. So a lot of them just haven't been done or updated over the years.
So I'm not going to quote you on this, and you won't be on TV. Oh, no, you will. But what would be your guess? Is it as much as the winter, or is it half as much, a quarter?
I'd say probably half to 3/4 of the winter today.
And 10 years ago, would it have been 10%? Has it grown?
Probably 25. So there's always been a little bit of a market, but it is definitely growing. You mentioned that Northern Rail Trail from Boscawen to Lebanon, and that is seeing a lot more use. There's a lot more people visiting the abutting businesses, and the businesses are starting to target those users and pair the recreational needs with what their business has.
Yeah, my wife and I used that trail, and she was biking with a friend of hers and met other bikers that were going from bed and breakfast to bed and breakfast.
Yep.
And they came up, and that was their weekend activity.
It is, and that's actually what people are looking for today. A lot of them, you'll still have the market where they come up in the morning, they're going to recreate and then go home in the afternoon, but a lot of people for extended vacations of a 3 to 4 day, a long weekend, they want to go inn to inn with whatever their recreational pursuit is.
And is that available on the website? Is that something DRED sort of deals with? Is that sort of in your strategic plan to connect to businesses and the network? Or
it's part of our plan, that a trail alone in the woods has a value to itself, the intrinsic value to the users, but getting to those services is important to people as well. So we do look to partner those, and it's one of our priorities, but we leave it as a local focus, for the business and the local users and local nonprofit groups to drive that. We couldn't do it alone. We just don't have the time to focus on that. But tourism and other agencies within DRED, the Division of Economic Development, all work on that as part of their mission as well.
And are there maps that people can get through the website or available that show the statewide network?
There are a variety of maps. We have a snowmobile map, an OHRV map, the rail trail map. So there's a multitude of information on our website, and all the nonprofit organizations have their own, and they tend to add more to their websites. The local links, the local connections, people coming to the area, here's what you should know type information is usually on the links from the organization or nonprofits' websites, and we link to most of those.
And would there ever be a plan to take the rail trail network or the biking network from Massachusetts up to Vermont, or is it to expand, we talked Boscawen to Lebanon, is it to expand and interconnect that network throughout the state? Is that like in 10 years, 20 years, would we see something like that?
I would think probably within 10 years. There is a general plan now, a group that's looking at what they call the Granite State Rail Trail, and that's connecting the Northern Rail Trail south into Londonderry, Windham, and Salem. But there's a lot of pieces in the middle that still have to be worked out. The state doesn't own the railroad beds in between. Those are owned by private rail companies. So,
and are those getting use? I mean, is that conflicting with sort of the corridor from Concord to Boston
There
that
are
we
some,
hear about?
Yeah, it's the same corridor that's proposed, in the long run for, a commuter line. So those do conflict. They don't want to invite people onto a track that's going to have more train traffic. So it's trying to figure out ways around that, or
that's not safe. Biking and train.
Well, they can be made safe. You can co-share those, but you've got to have additional considerations made. Fencing to keep people separated or distance. So there are ways to do it. It's just a lot for people to digest today.
Well, we're out of time in this segment.